Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 25th. It is 8:36 in the morning. Let's take a look at the news coming out today. All right, we have some reports coming out at 9 o'clock, right at the oil open. And then we have consumer confidence, new home sales, and manufacturing index at 10 o'clock. So might be a little choppy at the open with waiting on consumer confidence and new home sales. So we will keep that in mind. Let's take a look at last night's trading and adjust our levels here. Okay. So we had a real tight range yesterday, barely. Let me see here. I guess let me adjust the levels first, and then I'll get into that. Okay, value area low. Yesterday's VPOC. Since I have it right here, we'll make this overnight high. Overnight VPOC. So all right, so here we go. So we have value area high from yesterday, value area low VPOC, overnight low, which we are currently trading right next to, and overnight high. Let's take a look where yesterday's close was in relation. So here's yesterday's close. Right now, I would say we're fairly neutral with inventory. We traded above the close. We've traded below the close. More trading happened above than below, so I don't think we're going to be using that as any type of guide for today's open. We are trading right next to yesterday's low, so we are inside the range from yesterday, but we are outside the value area, and we will keep that in mind right now when we go over to do our homework. So let's take a look at what's happened here. We could see how right off the open yesterday we came straight down, had looks like a nice bounce. We were actually trying to get long, I think, right around when we started bouncing here, so that was nice. And then some consolidation towards the end. Let's see if there are any levels that we breached that need to come off the chart. I'm going to say no. We came and tested this swing here, but never really closed below it. So we're going to leave that on for now. We're going to mark off yesterday's low, yesterday's high, and let's see where we are currently trading. We are currently trading at 49.09, so let's get that centered-ish. And we have 100 ticks to the upside, 100 ticks to the downside. This is perfect. This is exactly how we'll start our homework. Okay, let's see if my pen's working. Yes, it is. So what we are going to look for, considering we are starting inside yesterday's range, outside yesterday's value, our first test we are going to look for is value area low from yesterday in this swing that we tested from above that never got below. Sorry, never closed below. We're going to see if value area low can hold. We're going to make a push down, get to overnight low, test here, yesterday's low, overnight low. If that holds as resistance, we're going to look for a push down, ultimately down towards this micro composite VPOC. Now, at that point, you're only looking at about a 65 tick move. So not a huge range for the day. So I wouldn't expect this to be the end, but excuse me, for our purposes, the first hour, this will be all we are looking to target. Now, if we do get below this former microcomposite VPOC, I would actually tell you that we would probably start looking to get towards this low volume node here, this 48, about 48.25. But again, for our purposes for this morning, we're going to use this as hypo 1. Okay, and then hypo 2 is going to be an open, test value area low, test overnight low, yesterday low, and look for support. Get through value area low to come test VPOC, and then once again, look for support somewhere in here, ultimately making a push up towards yesterday's value area high and overnight high from last night. If we can get through there, again, at that point, we're starting to watch for support. If we can get through there, then we see we will probably be looking for somewhere around here, this double top, which comes in at 71. So we will be looking for a push up towards 71. Now in this case, again, we have about a 70 tick range, which will be fairly small for oil for a whole day. But this, for our purposes, that's going to be good for the morning. So we're going to mark this off. And hypo 3, let's see here. You know, hypo 3 would really be staying inside the range from yesterday. That would be, oh, I should say, sorry, the range from yesterday extends all the way up to here. I need to make a quick adjustment here. Sorry about this. There we go. That's pretty much what hypo 2 was. So 1 and 2 is all we really need for today. I guess yeah, here we'll do a third one. Hypo 3 would be an open, and regardless of how we get above here, ultimately the idea would be coming to test yesterday's high. If we hold support above overnight high, seeing if we can't break through yesterday's high and get ourselves up to this value area low at 50.05, right in that area, 50.05. That's going to be hypo 3. Oh, it's a horrible 3, but it's a 3. All right, so that's all we need for oil this morning. Get that out of the way. Let's take a look at S&P. Just give me 1 second, guys. I think we have plenty of time too, right? Yeah, 15 minutes. All right, so let's go over, take a look at yesterday's trading, overnight trading. And if you remember, I had said as we get closer and closer towards the all-time high, I get less and less interested in shorts. Now, we're still far enough from it that I'd be watching for short opportunities, but just want to bring that up again. So let's start marking off some levels. We have overnight high, overnight low, overnight VPOC, and unless I'm going blind, there we go. I'll come back up in a second and readjust those a little better, the ones I'm moving around right now. I just want to kind of get them all in the same area. Okay. All right, so now we have overnight high, overnight VPOC, overnight low, which happens to coincide with yesterday's value area low. We also have yesterday's VPOC and yesterday's value area high. Trading overnight, we are predominantly net long, so we are going to be keeping an eye on potentially a pullback at the open. We are also trading above yesterday's high. Yesterday's high coincides with overnight VPOC. So we currently have a gap up. This is a 3-point gap up. If you remember yesterday, we had a 22-point gap up. So much more reasonable gap, much more likely that this gap gets closed. That's not a guarantee. That's just the percentages. So let's take a look at our hourly chart, see if there are any levels that need to be adjusted. Okay, let me get this out of the way for a second, and then I'll put it back. How did that get to the end? I did nothing. Oh, okay. I'm not seeing a full chart. There we go. Okay, so there are no levels up here that we had breached. What we need to do then is mark off yesterday's high and low. So I'm just going to copy and paste for the low, copy and paste, and mark off the high, which happens to coincide with overnight VPOC. Tomorrow, when we move overnight VPOC, assuming that's what happens, we'll leave that high behind. Stretching out this micro composite, and I'm stretching it out because you can see that we are near the very top of it. This micro composite goes all the way back to here, and we included this swing up there, which technically we don't really have to, but we do have it in there. So we're going to keep this. We're going to stretch the micro composite to also include yesterday's trading. We're currently trading at 23.77. So let's see. We have 17 to the upside, 17 to the downside. This is pretty good. We are starting out of yesterday's range, as we were talking about. We're above yesterday's high. We are outside of this micro composite. So we are going to look for our hypo 1, and probably the ideal setup for us is going to be a push to the, oh, wait a minute, my pen's not working. Let me just fix that. Okay. So ideal setup for us would be a push to the upside with negative divergence on the BBs, then coming back in, looking to get towards yesterday's value area high, yesterday's VPOC. That is going to be hypo 1. Now, we can continue to draw from here actually, because ultimately we would be looking for a push down to yesterday's value area low, possibly all the way down to this microcomposite VPOC. We're gonna leave this on as hypo 1. Okay, hypo 2. Now, just again, I want to go over one thing. So basically, what hypo 1 is saying is that we ultimately make our way back into yesterday's range, into yesterday's value area. It doesn't matter if it starts with a push up or not. You know, we can see this. It can start by going straight down, test, fail, so on. You're still looking at it as hypo 1. That's the concept. Hypo 1 is that we come back into yesterday's range, back into yesterday's value area, and ultimately try to traverse our way down into the value area low and towards the low of day from yesterday. Okay, hypo 2. Excuse me. Hypo 2 is basically where that we attempt to come back into yesterday's range and value area, but ultimately find support somewhere on the way down, turn back up, and look for a push through overnight high and start making our way back towards the all-time highs. And we look for longs if we find support as we push down, especially if we find that support somewhere near the value area high VPOC. And basically any of the major levels as we go down. So that's going to be hypo 2. Okay, hypo 3. Hypo 3 is going to be where we do not actually make any real push down. We immediately come out, break the overnight high, and start to push. We saw this happen last time we got near all-time highs, and it just became trends after trends after trends. And at that point, we are looking for a strong push towards this naked VPOC, which I'm going to mark off on my chart. What I'm doing here is this. Let me copy and paste this. Yeah. This small red dotted line here, that is drawn automatically by one of these indicators. The one I'm going to be laying over top of it, I draw myself. And the reason for that is now, because I've drawn this line myself, it will be transposed over onto our trigger chart. But so now this is going to be hypo number 3. And that's all we're going to do for S&P this morning. Get this out of the way. Okay. And what we're looking for between now and 9:30 would be, we'd love to see the S&P. We'd love to see the S&P do something like this. And then by 9:30, have the BBs come down, and then when they come and retest, when price retests the high, have the BBs be on a downward slope. Something like that. At least those 2 BBs. I don't know if we'll have time to get the third one to do the same, but that's kind of the idea with what I was saying, what I'd love to see set up at the open. But we'll have to see what happens between now and then. What time do we have? All right, so about 6.5 minutes left to the open. I'm going to pause the video, and I'll be back for the open. All right, we got about 1.5 minutes to the open. Just kind of want to show you what's happening here. We pulled back pretty nicely from this 48.94 low, 48.94 overnight low that we have to readjust to. I am looking for a short here. We're kind of coming back into this consolidation, back up towards yesterday's value area low and yesterday's close. I'm going to be watching for a short opportunity, maybe on a spike up. Hopefully we get a nice little push, just like that. Now I'm going to be watching now to try to grab a short. I try not to get into a trade just before the open. Only because that initial, 2-3 seconds can spike in either direction pretty quickly. Well, let's see what happens here. What do we got? 15 seconds. Okay, those are open. Push down right off the bat. No, nothing major yet. But I do think the short opportunity has come and gone right before the open. I don't really want to chase this down. So I'm just watching now. I'm watching this order flow here. I do like the area that we are at. Like I said, we pretty much came right up to value area low and to yesterday's close. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna kind of hang out here. Let's see what comes. I like this this consolidation back here. Oh, my pen's not working again. I wonder why that keeps happening. I like this consolidation back here. Would love to see if we can't spike up into yesterday's VPOC and look for a short there. But definitely more interested in a short than a long right now. That, of course, that can change at any time. On the flip side, we have consolidation here that we could see act as support along with yesterday's low. And the BBs, it looks like if we were to pull back down to there now, it looks like the BBs would have a nice shape to them. If we ultimately make a move down towards overnight low, this most recent swing low here, we'd have to see if the BBs have a positive divergence at that point. And right now, it's too early to be able to tell that. So pulling down here, moving down, it's just kind of as we figured. But again, no real great entry opportunity there for me. BB's definitely showing positive, and looks like if we continue moving down, we would create a positive divergence off of the overnight low. But let's see what actually happens. This also is the setup. It looks a bit like a head and shoulders pattern. I know that's not drawn very well, but looks like we could be setting up for the head and shoulders, which would mean a push up from here, ultimately making its way up the test. And I really think we are going to be testing yesterday's VPOC if we can start making our way back up. But again, we need to find a decent trade opportunity. S&P has continued to push further up in the overnight session, extending the gap. I kind of like this candlestick pattern that just formed here. I am looking potentially to swing this into a long. Oof. Really should be sitting on my hands here. There's nothing, really nothing other than instinct saying which way this should go, and that's not any reason. At least for me, that's no reason to trade right now. That candle no longer looks bullish. So you see, that's one of the reasons why, in a lot of cases, you want to give a candle a chance to close or get close to closing before pulling the trigger. A couple hundred ticks ago, that looked like an incredibly bullish candle. Now, when we just closed, it's more of a bearish, indecisive candle. Meanwhile, S&P keeps creeping higher. I'm just adjusting the overnight high with it. Remember, we did have some type of news release at 9 o'clock. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what it was. So that could explain that the most recent little surge there in the S&P. Oil continuing to look like it's trying to go down. Our BBs are still reading as if they could have positive divergence if we were to make a push down towards the bottom here. Still looking for a potential long if it sets itself up. I like this chunk of consolidation right above yesterday's low. I like that the BBs are showing as price came up, BBs came up, as price came down, BBs came down. They're all kind of following suit, but it looks to me as if the BBs would show positive divergence. The BBs would show positive divergence if we come and make a test down towards overnight low. So currently, just kind of waiting and watching. Remember, we do have a news release today at 10 o'clock. That might lead to some of the choppiness that we're going to see this morning. So I am still watching for a long here. Sellers just stepped in. That's happened twice now where we tried to get up away, start making a move back up, and we get a wick on the candle, and then ultimately the candle comes back down. And so far, this one hasn't closed yet, but it looks like there it goes. This one closed the same exact way. So we tried 2 or 3 attempts at a move up, and each one has been pushed down pretty hard by sellers. And although we are still looking for a long, I still like the way the BBs are shaped right now. I like that we're at some support, what looks like to be potential support levels. Yesterday's low, overnight low, but I'd like the setup to be a little bit cleaner for us before just jumping into a trade. See, it looks like again here sellers are trying to step their way down. There they go. So we have a big bid here, 200 and some odd contracts right at yesterday's low. That got swallowed up, and it got swallowed up with large trades. So still some aggressive selling down here, but again, the BBs are reading somewhat positive to us. I'm still looking for a decent long opportunity. That's still my plan here. Sellers, buyers are not getting all that aggressive just yet. See here again, this is the beginning of a nice bullish candle, but we need to let it get closed. It's now. Let's see if the sellers step right in. See that right there, right again. what looked like a very bullish candle. Still was a bullish candle, but the sellers came in and pushed it down right towards the end. VWAP has held as resistance repeatedly, so really have to be patient now. Really have to be patient watching for this long. And definitely, depending on the size of the pullback up, we would still be considering ultimately then flipping it down to a short. But from where we are right now, I do think we're seeing potential for a long trade. Sellers are continuing to step down. They're adding size. They just added size again on the offer. And see if they can push through, get down closer to overnight low. And then at that point, we'll have to take a look at what the BBs look like. Right now, everything looks like the BBs will continue to show positive divergence. Again, reaffirming the idea of wanting to maybe take a long. Buyers really stepped in nicely there. Bid stepped in nicely again right there. Very tempted here. Let's see. I'm going to take a long. I'm going to start a position here. And I'm going to look to add at 01 and add at 96. Now, this can change. This idea can change based on what's to come. Okay, so right now I have my profit target set at 10 ticks, which is where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to be. I was going to say I'm going to watch what happens if we get up to VWAP, and we ticked up and came right back down. I didn't really get to see much there. But basically, right now, with the BBs continuing to show positive divergence, buyers have held this price now for a little bit. Now we just need to see if they're able to start taking these offers and getting sellers to lift and giving this a chance to ultimately make a push up, which in my opinion will then become a good short opportunity. But right now we looks like we have found some support until proven otherwise, which again could literally happen in an instant. See there again, buyers bid stepped up nicely and offers came right back down against them. So sellers are not quite getting out of the way yet. In fact, quite the opposite. They seem to be pretty content selling here on the offer, and then we come down to hit bids, and bids are holding. So we're at a pretty good stalemate right now. Stalemates don't excite me when the last few moves have been down when I'm long, but let's see what happens. Okay, sellers won that one for the time being, and buyers came right back up. Bids came right back up, I should say. There it was again. I mean, that's kind of why I got into this trade. Exactly what we just saw there, as I've seen a few times now that the bids have held their ground. If they drop, they come right back up. Now we need to see the buyers actually start taking these offers and getting the offers out of the way. VWAP has been resistant so far every time. Let's see if the sellers lift or buyers could put enough strength on to push through here. A lot of trade, like 60 contracts just went off at the bid there. We did see a large buy order come in, or several, but that did not get price above and close above the VWAP. So sellers still seem to be protecting the VWAP right now. And I'm not saying they're doing it because it's the VWAP. It's just an easy way for me to reference a price on the chart. I'm sure there are some short-term traders like us, possibly many of them, that are protecting because it's the VWAP. But I can assure you, if a larger time frame trader, which are the big boys, the hedge funds, the people with much deeper pockets, I can assure you they have no interest where VWAP currently is. We just saw again offers build up right there at the VWAP, but it really looks like buyers are trying to get some type of push up back towards overnight VPOC, current high of day. Really looks like they're trying to push through VWAP here, but sellers got to let it go. So we see buyers are coming up with large bids. So far, still everything looks okay. But we need to get away from this VWAP. Let's see. Let's see what comes here. See, again, the bids come up, but I'd like to see us trade the offer. Now I want to see some actual trading take place. There we go. We got a couple of contracts get off there. Okay. Let's see if we can't just push up through, get to our profit target. I really don't know. I mean, I could see this ultimately making its way up towards yesterday's value area low. Just missed us by a tick there on that little spike up. There we go. I'm closing this trade. Okay. So I got my 8 or 9 ticks, whatever it ends up being. Nicely done. Okay. So now what I'm watching for, because it was only one contract, if I had more than one contract, I would have closed one there and held on to more. But what we're watching for now is if we look back at where the BBs were when we opened to where they are now, on the 610 and the 987, we have negative divergence. On the 1597, it's showing strength. So a little bit of conflicted information there. I do want to see, I'd like to see another push up towards high of day. Really, I'd like to even come above that, trying to get a short. There's that turn back down that I was kind of watching for, but again, didn't really give me a great short opportunity. I guess in fairness, we could have, if not just closed our trade, but reversed our trade and have been willing to scale in. But yeah, that's tough. Let's wait and see what happens. See if we can't find another trade opportunity. Really tight range. I'm happy to get the that profit. S&P is starting to set up as we were talking about before the open. Now, the overnight high has moved up, but if you remember, one of the things we talked about was I'd like to see it do this and then come up right at the open, but in the meantime, have the BBs do that where they are downslope. So let's see if we get that before the open or not. I don't know that we will. And in oil, again, the BBs are still showing some strength here as we come back. If we come back and test the current low of day, what we're going to be watching for, not to get too complicated here, if we go from this swing low here, I believe that we will still have positive divergence if we come back and test this low. We'll have it from here to here. However, from this swing low right here, let me get my pen up, sorry. From this swing low, I believe if we were to come test, our BBs would not have positive divergence. We would come through where they were, maybe even on this one, we would come through where the BBs were when we were last here. So I'm not looking to grab a long just off of here at this point. I would need a little bit more information than that. I am still interested in a short, however, because I believe we're going to be coming down through that low. And it's not just because I believe that. We got our push up. We saw sellers ultimately push this back down. Didn't have a great opportunity, or I should say I didn't recognize an opportunity to get short up here. So now if we get another push up, I'm going to continue to watch for some shorts up towards the current high of day, this last micro double top there. What do we have? About 7.5 minutes to equities open. Not much cooking now. Again, I'm pleased to have gotten the one good trade in there. So now what we're going to be watching for, you remember I say I'm looking for a short. What we're watching for is as we come up here, are we going to get negative divergence on the BBs or not? So depending on how those lay out, we might just have to kind of sit on our hands regardless of the direction that this moves in and wait for a decent setup. Big offer here at 236 contracts of 49.12. Let's see if those stay there when price moves up to it, which it has not right now. Price is moving away from it. So we don't know if those contracts are real or not because no one is actually trying to buy them right now. When they become the best ask, when they become the lowest ask, which means we'd have to tick up one more tick to 49.12, then we'll see if people are actually staying there and allowing those contracts to be bought on the offer. Remember, on the offer, that means that people are there to sell their contracts, and which would allow others to buy those contracts. So let's see if that 206 remains above 200 as if we tick higher. Right now we are not able to get above this 49.11. There we go. So there's 12. So see how they disappeared immediately? I don't think that we traded those. I think they just went away. So there's our push up. We really don't have strong negative divergence on the BBs. Can't be looking for a short here. Right now we're kind of at the we're in a situation where we have a consolidation, but on both ends of the consolidation, the BBs look like they are confirming a breakout to one side or the other. So if I look at this micro double top here, and if you see how where my cursor is in the BBs, if I look at this micro double top, as price comes up to it, we will not have negative divergence. When we were last pushing our way down in these two candles, and we looked at this swing low here, the same thing held true, that if price continued down, we would not have positive divergence. So this is really reading as if we want to extend this range to one side or the other. So again, at this point, I really just kind of have to hang out and wait. We're doing a lot of trading at the inside, right in the middle of the channel. I try to stay away from that as much as possible, especially in a channel this tight. You know, we have the low of 49.01, high of 49.18. That's only a 17 tick range. You know, the middle of that only gives us about 8 ticks to either side. Certainly not what I want to be shooting for in a trade. Now, yes, if I only get one contract, I'm okay with closing it out, making 6, 7, 8, 10 ticks. But ultimately, my goal is to get into a larger position and have profit targets that are above 10 ticks. You know, one of them might be around 10 ticks, but I want my other ones to be further out. And right now, I don't have a way to do that. Excuse me. Didn't mean to yawn at you. So let's see how much time we have till equities open. About 2.5 minutes, a little less than 2.5 minutes. And we are kind of getting the beginning of the setup that I'm hoping for. Now, again, that's not the only setup we can trade. I'm not going to get over aggressive because I have an idea in mind. I'm going to wait to allow the setup. Oil pushing back up here again. Let's see if we get a run at the current high of day. Nope, sellers pushed her right back down. I mean, all this is happening within 5 ticks, so there's really not much going on. So we are going to keep an eye at on the S&P for the open. There's really not much happening in oil right now for us to be paying attention to. So I do want to be seeing what happens to the S&P when we open up. You can see the consolidation right here. This nice little stair step. Let's see if that. Let's see if we come down and test that. If that holds as support. Again, ideally for me, is going to be an open, just a little bit of a chop, let the BBs turn down a little, then a push up with negative divergence on the BBs, giving us a short opportunity around overnight high, and then we'll start looking for where we should be putting profit targets. We are gapped up. Here is yesterday's high at 74. We are currently at 78.50, so 4.5 point gap. Let's see what we get here. Okay, this is the beginning of the setup I'm hoping for. I'd like to see this candle close a little bit bearish. I don't want it to go too far. Oil has now come down. We do actually have positive divergence off of this swing low on 2 of the 3 charts. It's very minor though, so I will not be looking for a long off of here. S&P in the meantime has come down. What I'm now looking for is this push back up I'm now watching for a push up, giving us an opportunity to try to go short. Not quite happening. S&P looks like it's wanting to just come back down. Remember, because the gap is only 4 points, it is likely or more likely that the gap gets closed at some point today versus a day like yesterday where the gap was 22 points. It's very unlikely that that gap actually gets closed. So really what I was hoping for with the S&P was we would get a chance to get in on a nice swift push up, which then gives us the opportunity to get into a short at a decent price. Still could come. We come down to test this consolidation. Look at how many trades, large trades, have gone off right now, right here in oil. Look at the indecisiveness with traders. Right at yesterday's low, right at this previous swing low. You know, some are thinking it's going to go down, some are thinking it's going to go up, but they're doing it a little bit more aggressively. I mean, if there's always people thinking it's going to go up, thinking it's going to go down, but you could see this price point was an area of interest in both directions. And I can understand the confusion, to tell you the truth. I could see how the double bottom gives you potential to believe in a long here. I could see how the BB's not offering positive divergence gives you the potential to believe in a short there. I really can understand both sides of that. Let's watch here on the S&P. Let's see if we can't get a push up, and then we're going to look for some order flow to give us a reason to go short. We have the BBs exactly as we want them. Now I'm looking to just fine tune the entry here if I can, using order flow. And sometimes trying to do that means I miss the trade, and that's okay if I do. Buyers adding onto the bid there. Yes, looks like that's still pushing. Okay, there's our push towards overnight high. Buyers still stepped up here. They just did it again. I'm going to take my short. Now we have negative divergence here on the 1597 on the S&P. We have negative divergence on the 2584, but we do not have it on the 4181. So currently, I am okay with scaling and getting another contract short here, but I might change my mind about taking my third contract. In fact, I am going to change my mind about taking my third contract. I'm stopping at 2. To me, if we continue to push hard here, I really don't want to be a part of. I don't want to be a part of it. So let's see. If I see order flow step in, maybe I'll take a short, add on to my contracts here for a very tight risk, decent risk reward ratio. Buyers are still stepping up though. Looks like we're gonna get. All right, you know what? Sellers tried one more time. I'm gonna take that very tight risk versus reward on that last contract. It's the only reason I took it. I am, though, going to be watching this trade potentially to close it. If order flow, if it's obvious the buyers continue to step in or sellers continue to get out of the way, and if I can get out of this trade, and I think I need to, I would be willing to do that. Now, if it just moves against me too quickly, then that's what my stop loss is there for, and that's exactly what looks like is happening here. Buyers still seem to be stepping up and refreshing here on the bid. We need sellers. We need sellers to hold their ground a little bit now. Come back through overnight high. Buyers still adding on to the bid here. Big buy order just went off. The buyers just added on again. Not looking great here. But that could change. That could change. Right now, the order flow is kind of at a stalemate. And again, I don't like stalemates that happen. If we just pushed up, I don't really want the stalemate. I want it to reject and reverse and move back down. But let's see. Let's see if we can't get back below this overnight high and start making a move towards closing this gap. Remember, we were net long inventory, so there is a expectation of correcting that to some extent at the open. I do see that oil is doing stuff, but right now I'm a little bit more focused on the S&P. Although really I don't need to be. I guess I should, yeah. Yeah, and buyers are holding this right here, this 80 quarter. Buyers continue to refresh their bids there. Really looks like they're gonna try to make a push here, but so well again, sellers are holding it down. But now we need them to start hitting these bids. We're doing so much more trading on the offer right now than we are on the bid. we need that to change. And there was again, buyer stepped up with some size. I just don't know how much more the sellers can withstand up here before we get our pop. Or if they can exhaust the buyers. The buyers just did it again. We just refreshed it one more time on the bid there. Now let's see if we can't hold this offer now. Nope. Once again, buyers came high bid. Got the bid back to 80 quarter. I'll be shocked if we don't get stopped out, but at this point, the risk versus reward, instead of me just closing my trade, I will let this play out on its own. And you can see buyers continuously coming high bid, and doing it with size, refreshing their bid when they get hit. Just did it again. They just added on few hundred contracts and got again. It looks to me as if we're gonna push and get stopped out. There it went. Okay, we'll continue watch. Unfortunately, while that was happening, oil made its push up towards the overnight high. I'm sorry, the current high a day, and it did it with not great negative divergence. I don't really think that I would have been looking for a trade up there, but still, right now I'm watching both. With oil coming back in the way it is, where we're going to be looking for a potential long. We do have positive divergence down here at the bottom end of this consolidation. S&P, I actually still can't really look to go short up here right now because we don't have a good negative divergence. So let's watch oil for a second here. Let's see if we can find a decent long opportunity. S&P is continuing to push there, but right now let's focus on oil. So obviously we just saw big bid step in at the bottom of the consolidation here in oil. See right here again, if you look over at the S&P, we're seeing large trades go off in both directions. So some indecisiveness up here. Let's stretch this out a little. Okay. Let's see what we get. Oil coming back down, testing the low here of the channel. Okay, pushing through the current low of day, just created new low. No real positive divergence, but let's see. Bids are firming up down there. Definitely some tough trading here on oil. I can easily see a bunch of people getting what's called whipsawed around in there. I could see that being a bad looking chart for them. So we are still looking potentially for a long here down at the bottom of this channel on oil. Some things would change though, however. We would not be putting in a 10-tick stop loss. It would have to be a very tight stop loss because our profit target is going to be very tight. So it's much more of a scalp trade than anything else. If we do ultimately pull the trigger on a trade there. Meanwhile, watching over in the S&P, looking for pullbacks with an opportunity to go long. Remember, you see why now. Although, let me just go back here to kind of show you something real quick. So here where we opened up on the S&P, you could see as we came up to, at the time, the overnight high, we did have negative divergence on the 1597, but we didn't really have it on the 2584. Really should have stayed a little bit more patient looking for that setup because at that point, honestly, the setup never really takes place. So I did have the idea in mind before the open that definitely did sway me a little bit. But ultimately, this pullback to consolidation here, can't really say that I saw that as a great long opportunity. Obviously, I didn't. But here, where we break the overnight high and we start trying to get back below it, and that keeps failing, and we saw buyers continue to step in 80 quarter, 80 quarter, 80 quarter, that actually sets itself up for a decent long trade. If you're not already biased, as I was, with the idea of looking for a short. So a little error on my part, and it's okay. That's why we do this. S&P sitting near the high, oil sitting near the low. No convergence on their price today. They don't seem to be following suit. Not that they need to. Okay, one more push through here on the S&P. Creating a new high here. Would be looking for pullback towards current VPOC where this consolidation is. Excuse me. Also happens to be middle of day. I would be looking for a pullback to here for a potential long opportunity. So again, oil right near the low, S&P near the high, just kind of waiting to see if one of them break. I will not short the low. I will not go long at the high. So something will have to happen for me to want to get into a trade here. And certainly that's not the case. Although we do have positive divergence off of the overnight low. A lot's happened between now and there. It's not really. I mean, I would be willing, like, you know, if we come down a little further and we see some decent buying step in, or we see a more clean trade setup to go long, I would be looking for a long here in oil. I am not looking for a short currently in the S&P. I'm looking for pullbacks into a long. I just don't know if that's going to happen in time for me to do it before I wrap up my morning. Okay, so here comes the push down in oil coming to test overnight low. Still positive divergence off of this last swing low. That's a really nice looking candlestick setup right there. Let's see what happens when the bar closes. There it goes. No longer a nice looking candlestick setup, and that's why you really want to get closer to the close of the bar before making any decisions. If you're making that decision based on a candlestick setup. Another wick up here in this candle already happened with a quick push back down. Let's see what comes of that. So no real, again, for me, no real great setups. Sellers still seem to be stepping in on the offer here on oil, looking like they want to continue to try to push it down. I am looking potentially, again, talking about a long trade here. I'm looking to see if we can't just get a quick spike up, pull back towards the bottom. That might give me a reason to try to catch a long here in oil. watching the order flow here. It looks like sellers still coming down. Let's see if the buyers can start holding the bid. I'm going to take a long here. Let's see. Let's see if we get any type of push up here. Watching the top of this last little consolidation, watching to see what happens if sellers step back in just like they did before, or if we get a little push just like that. Okay, I'm going to take my 8 ticks here. All right, nice quick one there. I actually got all 10 ticks on that. Now I am watching for a short here. Just want to make sure buyers have run out of steam before doing that. Looks like they have. I might have missed it. No? Okay, there's some stepping back in again. Meantime, S&P has pulled back. I'd like it to come back a little further before I start trying to go long there. Okay, I am going to, might have just missed my short there on oil. I glanced over at S&P. And that's okay if that's the case. I'm not going to force it. Buyers step back in there. Let's see if they can give it one more push up here in oil. And if sellers can hold that, I will go short. Not quite the push I want. I want a slightly better price if I can. Sellers are not coming down all that aggressively, so I'm okay. I'm okay not being in this trade just yet. And again, if ultimately I miss it, so be it. So this is actually a stronger move than I've been expecting. So I'm going to hold off on this short for a minute here. VWAP holding as resistance, which coincides with middle of the day, but buyers are still stepping up here. They're adding on to their bids. There they come again. So right here is where sellers look like they're trying to defend, but we need to see that. Let's see if that actually happens before trying to pull the trigger. It's getting a little late for me too. We also have a 10 o'clock news release that is of importance. So at this point, I will not be looking to take any trades. We're a little bit too close to the release for me to want, because I'd want to close my trade a minute or so before the release anyhow, so I could really only be in this thing for a minute or two based on what time it sets up, if it sets up. I just want to see what happens at this news release, and then I'm going to run. But still, you see the VWAP held as resistance. Sellers were able to defend there, but that was a stronger push than I was expecting. Meaning the way the buyers were stepping up, not in the amount of price that it moved, but the way the buyers continued to step up after it moved. The way the buyers looked like they were trying to hold it up. Even they're doing it again right now. This is stronger than I was expecting when looking for my short. So I'm just gonna kind of hang out. And like I said, I wouldn't be getting in a trade now anyway. 2.5 minutes to the news release. I'm okay being flat right now. S&P, the BBs show real nice negative divergence off the current high a day. I am very hesitant to want to go short there. Again, I wouldn't do it before the news release, but very hesitant to want to go short in the S&P. But the BBs are showing really nice negative divergence on the 1597 and the 2584. Well, it keeps bumping up against that VWAP again. I am a little surprised to have seen that. That's actually the only reason I want to be here when the news comes out. I'm very curious to see if there is a reaction to this news, and if so, obviously the number is going to dictate the reaction. But everything on oil just looks like it wants to break down. So I'm just curious to see if we get a spike in volatility after the release and what it does. What do we got? About 30 more seconds. Okay, yeah. I'm real curious to see what comes. It's just, and it's really only because oil is in such, for me, is at such a pivotal price point right now where I really expected this push up to be reversed. I really thought that oil, and it still may. I really thought oil was going to start making its way back down, and the fact that it didn't when it initially got there, I just want to see if the news release helps that out at all, or if it spikes it through. So there's the release, and there's nothing. All right. Well, it was worth waiting, I guess. As always, if anything, feel free to get in touch. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.